Hello, hello. My name is April Malone, and I'm with Yes, I Work From Home, and this is the podcast. Today I have Rachelle Deem with me from Australia. Rachelle, tell us who you are and what you do.
Hi, I'm Rachelle, and I am a tech and automations expert and assist women with their online courses as well. And I work from home, and I'm a mum of 6.
Yeah, so Rachelle and I actually met at a conference for entrepreneurial women. I think it was in May
Yeah.
of last year with the Grace Lever and with the Grace Lever. She would probably like to know that we refer to her that
Yeah.
way. She's kind of entrepreneurial guru for the not only Australia but also the US and worldwide famous. So at this point, so we met in a networking session. We were randomized for 5 minutes, and every 5 minutes it was kind of like speed dating. And Rachelle comes in, and I'm like, okay, what do you do? Like I was practicing my elevator pitch for the first time, like trying to formulate, because we hadn't even started the Yes, I Work From Home yet at all. I was just kind of in the thinking stage of it still. And she's like, I help people develop the tech stack. And I was like, what is that? I think I need that.
Yeah.
So what does that mean?
Well, it can be confusing because sometimes when people use the word tech, they're actually referring to like the physical assets, like the monitor and the phone. And while that comes into play, when I say tech, I'm referring to the platforms that underpin your business. So like the ClickFunnels and lead pages and Acuity scheduling and Gmail, email platforms, that sort of thing. So when it comes to creating a tech stack, I'm talking about all the platforms that layer together to get a business running as much on autopilot as possible, but to have all of those tasks of your business operating and integrated and speaking to each other. So that's what I mean by tech stack.
And when she said that, I was like, oh my goodness, I am trying to start a new thing. You know, I have been working for a company for 17 years, and I was working as an independent contractor for companies that already have their platform. And when I'm like, I want to start a thing, but I don't know, what email provider do I want to use, or what website should I use? And I was literally paralyzed with decision, that decision overload and overwhelm, and taking 4 months and like researching and trying to, like, even the podcast thing. It's like, I want to do a podcast, but how, and every single time it came to a different thing, I didn't know, there'd be 40 choices. And so Rachelle was kind enough to share her information with me, and we kind of kept in touch. And I did end up booking, what do we call that? Technology breakthrough session or something like that?
It was a tech breakthrough session. Yeah.
And it was 45 minutes of gold. And it just helped me. I was able to say, here's what I know. Here's what I think I want. Help me decide. And she was able to tell me about a website that I hadn't even heard of yet called Simplero. And that's actually what I'm hosting my website on now, because it not only can host like a regular landing page or funnel or like your web stuff, but also a course. Similar to Kajabi. And I was trying to decide between the ClickFunnels and the Kajabi, and
you were
all of the choices, and there's so many. And I was reading all of the comparisons, like, ClickFunnels versus Kajabi versus, Thinkific or whatever they're all called. And what is it called?
I remember that.
Thinkific. Yeah. I was just like completely overwhelmed. So I'm assuming that you deal with that a lot.
I do. You were very, very researched though. And I don't necessarily work with a lot of women that have delved as deeply into the tech as you did, because you were definitely like this versus this, and this does this and this doesn't do that. You definitely took it to a level that not as many women that I work with do. They do look at surface things, and it tends to be what are the main features and what is the price. Those are the two comparative points that most people come to me on. And things are like all-in-ones, the subscriber limit before the price point changes. That's another one that stops people in their tracks. But it's confusing because there are so many choices, and you're also thinking, if you're not familiar with any of them really, you're thinking what's going to work for me now versus what's going to work for me in 5 years time. Am I going to be changing really soon because it's not going to grow with my business? So it's
or is something
overwhelming.
so bloated? Like, I think
Yes.
that I was being recommended something. It was Infusionsoft.
Yes.
And that is so big and so expensive, and I wasn't really ready for it now, or probably not anytime in the near future. And then you have to decide, am I willing to make that switch if I need to upgrade?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's a hard
because
decision.
it is very expensive. Like, it is pretty much one of the most expensive email marketing automation platforms that you can get. And I mean, it's got the nickname Confusionsoft for a reason, because it's not simple unless you're a super techie. It's not just to sit down and navigate your way through creating a campaign within an hour. Like, you will have to sit there for quite a few hours to even work out how to connect a web form with a landing page, let alone build out a campaign and your decision diamonds and all of the ins and outs of the program. So,
And it doesn't do
yeah.
everything, so you still have to pay for other elements.
Yeah, well,
to
it does
match
have
with
landing
it.
pages, but the landing pages are not great. I mean, some people love them, but really they're not high converting. They're not really optimized aesthetically. They're very basic landing pages. So, yeah, and you do need other pieces, other platforms to make everything run together smoothly. So I never really recommend Infusionsoft for anybody unless they've come to me already with Infusionsoft as one of their tech pieces. If they've already paid for a year, or they're paying, like, they've got
Right, you're going
everything
to work with it.
on that, yeah, I'll just say stay there for now.
Yeah.
But it's not in my top 5 recommendations for what to use for simplicity.
And then you recommended
particularly.
the thing that you use personally, but no one else has really heard of. So it was a little
Yeah.
bit of a learning curve just to try to like find information, but so far we're happy.
Yeah, I love it, and I still recommend it above anything else. So I spruik Simplero all the time. So yeah.
Do you consider yourself, like, what kind of title have you given yourself? Like, when you say I am are you kind of like a VA in helping all these people with their tech, or are you more of a consultant, or what do you call yourself?
It's consulting. So I have very levels of services. So consulting is more of that done with you sort of area, and I do have done for you services for people that are looking for migrations or a course creation or a funnel build. I have the done for you services, but as far as
the one and
working,
done, like,
yeah, that's it. So as far as people trying to work out what works for their business, how they can automate their business, that is a done with you service, and very much a consulting sort of space.
Let's talk about how you got into this. Is this what you aspired to be, or how did you get to this point?
Definitely had no aspirations of doing this. It wasn't in my goals at all, really. I started working from home when I'd had my 6th child. So just to give some context, I had my first 5 children very quickly, one after the other. So I had 5 under 7, and then I had a 12-year gap, and then we have our little 3.5-year-old now. So I had been home for the first 5. When they were all small, I was home. I wasn't even working. I was just a stay-at-home mum, not just a stay-at-home mum. I was a stay-at-home mum.
A very busy,
yeah,
very busy mom.
Yeah. So definitely not just. I was a stay-at-home mum, and I went back to work when my youngest son at that point, my 5th, he was 3.5. So I went back to work at that point. So when we had Noah, I really wasn't keen to go back to full-time work and to have him in care, and I didn't want to miss those opportunities to work, to be with him. But by the same token, when you've got 6 kids, we needed 2 incomes coming into the house. And also I can't just sit there and be like, I have to be challenged and stimulated in some regard, and I'm kind of a perpetual student, And I was like, what can I do? And one of my close friends had mentioned something about virtual assistants. Her auntie works for the Queensland Conservatorium and they were hiring VAs to do some work. I was like, oh, I could do that. So I kind of did a little bit of research and thought, yep, I could definitely start this, and just kind of got into some like social media marketing and let people know that what my skill set was. And I mean, I had been working corporate for 25 years.
Okay.
At the time I was home with the kids, and very large skill set, and definitely around systems and processes and platform integrations and IT, finance. So I had like quite a large skill set. I knew that I had lots to offer. So yeah, that's how I got into it. Initially was just doing some BA work.
What did you originally go to school for?
Psychology.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, look, I just I do like to have little bits and pieces of things that don't tie together for anybody else, but in my mind they all work. So yeah, psychology was my degree. Has nothing to do with what I do now.
Yes, I have those too. I have two of those. Well, technically my music degree isn't really serving me very well right now, but the adult education component definitely is.
Yes, that would. Yeah.
And I'm sure psychology
it's nice
comes
to have in the background. Yeah.
Comes in handy too with all the decision making and like understanding why people struggle with things that they do.
Yes. Yeah. So that's how it's all kind of come into play. And then I never intended to stick with the VA sort of thing for any period of time. And I really did only sit in that space for about 6 months, and I outgrew it very quickly, which I knew that I would, but it was just a foot in the door from working from home. And it gave me an opportunity to build a client base. And then I was able to transition most of those clients from VA to kind of not consulting, but more of a high-end service at that point, and bring a VA in to do those tasks that I had previously been doing. And
so you hired a VA to work for you and do those things?
Yes. Yeah. Well, but my clients hired a VA that reported to me. Yeah. Okay. So or some did and some didn't. But yeah, some of them have stuck. I'm still working with some of them now in a much different space than initially. And some have just transitioned on, but it was good because I really haven't had to go crazy marketing my business. Word of mouth has been probably 80 to 90% of my client base is from referrals from other clients. So yeah.
And things like the networking space where I met you, and being in like that group of women who were entrepreneurs.
Huge. Yep, that's huge. And being in that space, as I work with one person, they will see somebody question something that I could help with, and they'll tag me in a post, and then
I think I've done that for you a few times.
Yes, you have. Yeah. So, it's that referral and word of mouth and those networking connections that have delivered the client base that I have. So, but I do need to lift my marketing game because you can't rely on word of mouth referrals if you really want to scale. So,
right. So you're kind of known as an automation queen. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So automation is just about, at its simple level, taking you out of the day-to-day and having all of those platforms that you've decided you want to have in your business, talking to each other and doing the bits and pieces that you don't need to be doing. So simple things like, and I use this as my primary example of automation all the time, but bringing leads into your business through a lead magnet of some description and having that automatically shoot that email with that attachment to the person when they give you their email address, and then putting them into an automation based on an email automation based on the actions that they take. So if they purchase a tripwire, then you can nurture them towards your core offer. If they don't purchase a tripwire, you might nurture them towards a discovery call. And that will all happen without you needing to be checking Susie wants this and Tom wants that. It's all happening in the background of your platform. Even things like booking.
Oh, sorry. Can you explain what a tripwire is for the people who are not the entrepreneurs in this group? We have work from home people in the employee
Mm-hmm.
category as well as entrepreneurs. So they might not all know that terminology.
Yeah. So a tripwire, if you're looking at all of your offerings across the scope of your business, and you have a free offering at the very beginning, and then you have your high point offering at the end, and it's kind of a ladder. A tripwire is that small product somewhere between maybe $9 and $49 mark that, and I don't really like the term tripwire because it kind of makes me feel like people are like tripping over something. So it's kind of just that
tricked.
I kind of like to think more of it as that's their first baby step that they've taken towards opening their wallet with you. So it's kind of like that small investment that they're willing to make to get to know you more. So they've downloaded your freebie and you're offering something that's just ask them to take a little step towards you. There's not a big commitment. They're going to be able to digest what it is that you've sold to them quite easily, and there is no extra burden on you as the entrepreneur to provide something. So it wouldn't be something like a paid call with you, or access to you. Like those little products are really, they're very automated. They're running in the background.
Digital.
They're passive income. Yep. Yeah.
Also
so very
automated.
passive. Yes, absolutely. So you may decide that once someone downloads a freebie and you've offered them this paid product, if they don't take you up on that, you have their email address because they've put it into that first page that they've seen about your freebie. You may decide that you really want to speak directly to them about an offer that you've got coming up based on what they've downloaded. And your platforms will be able to hold all that information and allow you to send relevant emails to that person based on the fact that they've just downloaded your freebie, but they haven't taken you up on that small step after that. So that would be a different sort of email sequence that you would send to them versus somebody that has purchased that small step because they are warmer. They know more about you. They've already seen what you can deliver, and they're more likely to want to purchase from you after that because they've already seen something in action. So you would nurture them differently as well. So there's always some work with setting up automation because you really need to think about what your client's journey is going to be from the time that they meet you to what the end goal of that is, and all of the steps and streets and pathways you want to take them on through that journey. But once you've set it up, it's done. And there is no fuss and there is no concern and thought. If there's forethought there, you've done the hard work, and then you can just sit back and you don't have to worry about that going forward.
You have to write the original content of those emails, and you have to write the content of the lead magnet or the freebie, and also that next load ticket offer, I think is what I've usually heard it offered or called. Which those are all things that are still coming for me in my business so far. I have the podcast, and we're starting here to try to like build the community, but I am, following those steps as well. You just don't want to be sleazy and slimy about it. And that's the thing. You just want your heart to come through as like, I genuinely want to help people. And that's where I get kind of hung up sometimes. Again, I think that decision-making stuff can also be kind of a form of procrastination. I just need to keep learning and deciding and thinking and writing and not actually doing it. So
yeah, I think it's hard too when there's so many people that are offering templates for your email nurture and templates for this and that, because none of this really is a one size fits all. And that's, I suppose, that's how I approach things, is that it's why I take the time to have the sessions with people to talk about what works best for them, because I think Grace is fantastic, but I don't ascribe to you should use this and you should use this and you should write this and you should. So I'm more of let's look at what the flow should be of a landing page or the flow should be of an email, but write the copy that is actually communicating your message to your audience. Or
the format, like the general structure of this email is really working well, but obviously whatever I'm working with is very different from what you're working with, and so the words can't match. They can't be the same.
No. Yeah. So I think if you get too hung up on making what you have look like somebody else's, then you become bogged down in uncertainty and that competition mode, and you're really just conflicted. And I just don't recommend that.
Or people who have been around the block and have, you know, been marketed to by multiple people. And then you see all the, like, I've attended quite a few webinars. And then I was like, oh, they are all following the exact same script.
Yeah.
Oh, they're going to first say, you know, this and this and this. And the reason you can trust me is because of this. And then I had this moment where, you know, it all came together. And then, you know, and it's like literally they're following a script and they just changed the names. And as soon as I could hear that script, I just would be like, nah, no, thank you.
Disengage.
The original.
Because that's the thing. It's not authentic and it's not resonating the way that you want it to. Because, I mean, if you're really targeting your audience, you know what their pain points are, you know what their struggles are, you know how they're feeling right before they're about to buy a product from you. And most of the time we are or have been in the past our ideal audience, particularly for me, like, my ideal audience is women in business that are struggling with the manualness of their business and the confusion around what they should use in their business or how to build a sales funnel that's going to deliver or how to build an online course that's going to get students into it. So I have been there and I know how I felt before I found the solutions. So that's what I speak to. And if I'm going to use a copy or like a cut and paste template from somebody else, it's not telling my story. It's not it's not meeting the target of my audience. It's not saying, I understand that you're here, because that person hasn't got my story. So yeah, flows and like a framework is good, but definitely not a copy and paste attitude when it comes to business in general, in my opinion.
How long have you been doing this consulting and automation done with you business?
2.5 years now. So I did 6 months, actually closer to 9 months of straight just VA work. And then I did a 3-4 month transition across. And then for, the last 2 years, I've been very much in the space of consulting and the done for you work, which I really enjoy. But I mean, there isn't a huge amount of scalability with that because it requires me to be in there doing it. But the I do love setting tech up and helping.
Do you have a few
businesses.
Do you have a few VAs working under you, helping you with that too now?
I have one at the moment, and I'm literally just in recruitment of my second. I have been this week. So yeah. So I have a friend who's a VA for a number of my clients that helps with blogging and social media and things like that. She doesn't do anything in my business. So that's, I'm recruiting a VA to assist me in my business and predominantly in kind of being my sidekick for Simplero, because I bring so many people across to Simplero. I really want somebody on board that's going to be able to jump in and do those email sequences and tweak a landing page, stuff that I don't really have the time to be doing. Yeah.
When we've talked in the past, you've mentioned a few times that you have certain days that you work in your business and a few days that you work on your business. Do you want to talk about that?
Yes. So this has been a kind of a journey for me to get to this point. Because when I first started my VA business, I actually only worked 2 days as a VA and 3 days in my 9 to 5, because I went back to work after my maternity leave finished with Noah. I went back to work for 4 months as I built my VA business up. So I worked 2 days as a VA and 3 days in my quality assurance position that I was in. So I gradually started to drop a day in my 9 to 5 grind and pick up a day in my VA business until I got to the point that I was working 5 days a week in my VA business and not in my corporate. And that took me about 6 months to get to that point. After I did that, and I had some systems in place, I wanted to kind of reverse that framework and move it down to where I wasn't working 5 days a week in my business and not working on my business for growth. So I gradually reduced it down to working 3 days a week in my business, so working for clients, and 2 days that I work on strategy for my business, on my own growth, strategies and working with, I've got a partner that I kind of an accountability buddy, and we meet up on Thursdays to talk about the different products that we're releasing and kind of keep each other on track as far as our timeframes and deadlines. So, yeah.
Do you do that in person?
No, but because she's in another state. So we do it via Zoom, and it's usually about 90 minutes. We just really brainstorm, and we're kind of building things parallel to each other. So, yeah, and she is a client of mine. So I do all of her tech work, but so I'm very much in the mix of what she's got happening, because I know that whatever she decides that she wants to release, I'm going to build that for her. So
you have
there's a lot of there's a lot of strategy in that. So we build parallel to each other. And also, so I work for clients Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, Fridays are the days that I work on my business. They're also my self-care days. So I take time to go horse riding once a week, and I do that on Thursdays. I might go and have a massage. I might go and sit in the salt caves with a book, or just go for a walk, or go and have a coffee, that sort of thing. So it's really just kind of, what do I feel like doing today?
Did you just say salt caves?
Yeah.
Tell us again where you are. I just said Australia. Tell us where you are in Australia.
I'm in Queensland, but the salt caves is actually like, it's a simulated salt cave. So you go into this, it's like a therapeutic business. So you go in there and it's all set up like a salt cave, and it's got the benefits of like, I don't know how, all the mechanics of how it works, or the chemical reactions, but it's beautiful. So it's like dim lighting, but enough that you can read. You can have a massage in there. Yeah, so that sort of thing. So I just take the time for myself, because it's just, life is so busy. It doesn't matter if you've got 6 kids or 1 child. If you've got work and competing priorities, it's just crazy busy. So if you don't take the time for self-care, if you're not looking after yourself, you can't look after anybody or anything else. So yeah, I really do. I got to the point that I prioritized that time for myself, and I don't compromise on that. That's just a line in the sand for me, and I've made that very clear to clients. And it has been a process. I still have some clients that reach out to me on Thursdays and Fridays in a panic about things, and I very gracefully say, I'm sorry, I can't assist you with that today. I will come back to you on Monday when I'm back at my desk. If you really need it attended to today, maybe you can contact somebody else, like give them some examples of who, because I just have to keep that line very firm, just for myself, just for my own benefit, my own well-being. So, yeah.
So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you're almost a little bit like an employee, like just doing the job. And Thursday and Friday, you were like thinking big picture.
Yes.
This is where I'm going to grow next. And
yes,
this is how I'm going. And then also complementing that with some of your self-care.
Yes. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I am the employee, and Thursday, Friday, I'm the CEO.
Got it. Yes. Got it.
Yeah.
So how many hours a week are you working?
About 21.
It's not too many.
No.
It's not very many at all.
No.
And so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, how many hours are you working on those days?
About 6 hours of work on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then Thursday and Friday, I don't do a huge amount of work, and I don't even really consider it to be work. So if I actually looked at all of the aspects of what I'm doing, it could be more than that. It might be 25, 26. But I mean, there's some aspects of things that I do that I actually love and would do it even if I wasn't working, like even if it wasn't part of my business. So those perpetual student things, like teaching myself how to create digital planners and that sort of thing. Like I love that sort of stuff. So yeah.
That's when your hobby and your work kind of meld.
Yeah. And I suppose my brain is always kind of flicking over potential scenarios of things that could happen and bits I could increase, like areas I could increase my growth and revenue in my business all the time. But the time that I actually put into action is not, there's not a lot of time that I have to do that.
Got it. Let's talk a little bit about your transition from that job where you were doing you said quality assurance, I think.
Yeah. Yes.
To the VA. Did you have to have a conversation with them to be like, hey, I want to cut back my hours? Like, how did that go? I know a lot of people are making the switch maybe unexpectedly, and you did this very intentionally. How did that work for you?
So I suppose I was in a really fortunate position that my supervisor, she and I had formed a really good friendship over time. And she is actually one of my two best friends now. Not at the time she employed me. We didn't know each other. But she was actually one of the two people that I had the conversation with about. So my other best friend was the one that said, oh, my auntie has a VA. And she also worked for the same company. So the three of us were very close. And so I said to Jess, who was my boss, okay, I'm going to become a VA. And she's like, you can't just say that you're going to become a VA. This is over coffee. I said, yeah, I am. And I'm not coming back to work for very long. So I had the ability just to have that very casual conversation with her. And then I went to her and said, look, I only want to work 3 days a week. I'm not interested in full-time work anymore. So she did accommodate that. I know there's lots of people that don't have the benefit of that they don't have that flexibility with their employers. And I have worked with people that have been in the same situation. So they're trying to build their business on Saturdays and Sundays because they're working corporate Monday through Friday, or they're up like from 11 p.m. till 3 a.m. doing the work to grow their business. And I really feel for them because even working the 3 days for somebody else and the 2 days for myself, it never feels like there's enough time, and you can never switch one off from the other. Like you're always thinking about your business, your own business when you're trying to grow it. In that startup phase is so overwhelming. And then you've still got to make sure that you're diligent and on board and on point for your employer as well. So
plus your family, if you have a family, like
absolutely,
not be a crab all of the
time. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it's so hard to fit all of those competing priorities in all the time. Even just working for yourself with a family or working for an employer with your family, that's just some days crazy work. So adding that second stream of income in and trying to build a business. So I was just very open with Jess, and then she actually ended up going on maternity leave herself not long after I came back from maternity leave, and someone else came in and took over for her while she was on maternity leave. And it was during that period of time that there was a new person in there that I actually left altogether, but I just decreased my time through a negotiation period. It was like, can I cut back to 2.5 days a week here? Then can I cut back to 2 days a week? And once I had worked my way down to I was there for 1 day a week, I really had to weigh up, why am I still there? Like 1 day a week, I'm really not getting anything done. I may as well be using that 1 day a week at home in my own business. So it just got to the point that I was like, well, I really appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate how flexible you've been with me, but I'm actually going to go to my own business and commit myself to that full time.
Wow. I know a lot of people hang on to a job because of the benefits that they may get. And I don't know very much about the benefits system in Australia compared to how we have it in the U.S. When I was working a part-time job, I was doing a 50-50 one time for 5 years with a job share partner. And so we were both working, they'd say 50% or 0.5
full-time equivalent.
FTE, yes.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious. And eventually I was able to bump that back up once I started doing the transcription to, I think it was 0.73. I think I needed to have like over 70% in order to qualify for the full-time benefits. It might have even had to be like 73%.
Yeah.
Something like that. I had to work essentially 33 hours a week, whatever that would equivalent be. Man, I am struggling with words. So I'd have to work about 33 hours a week to be able to qualify for the full-time benefits. And
we don't, I know you guys have medical and dental or something sometimes with your employers. Is that right?
Yeah.
We don't do that. We don't have that here. I mean, I suppose maybe there is some places that give their employees access to private healthcare coverage for things, but we, as a general rule, we don't do that.
That's not.
We have our leave we have our leave entitlements, So
Mm-hmm.
if you're a part-time or a full-time employee, you have the benefit of accruing annual and personal leave.
Right.
If you're a casual employee, you don't get those benefits, but you're actually
Okay.
paid a higher hourly rate, which
All
is
right.
inclusive of those hours. So
Okay.
you get an extra 17.5% on your hourly rate as a casual employee. And that's supposed to combat the fact that you're not getting paid annual leave or sick
So when you
personal
take a
leave.
vacation, it's just unpaid.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it is. So they're pretty much, and we have our superannuation, which is it 441? Okay. What's your super called? Your something
410,
four.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
401k.
it. Yeah. So ours, we just have that. I think it's at 9.5% is put into our super fund. Yeah. So it is different. If you're sticking around in Australia, it's not going to be for any major benefits unless you're with a massive company like a huge brand here in Australia that
Mm,
may give you access to a gym or access to some private healthcare. But as a general rule, we don't. The benefits are you get paid to do your job and you get some annual leave and sick leave if you're part-time or full-time.
right. Yeah, that's a big deal breaker for a lot of people. I was planning on keeping my job for forever because I was the one that was carrying the health benefits for our family.
Mm-hmm.
And when my husband actually was offered his full time position at his company that he's at now, he got benefits. And his are a little bit more expensive than mine were. But then they ended up shutting down most of my department. And so a lot of us left. And in the process, I had to work more hours to kind of compensate for that money that I lost. But I had a more
Yeah,
my new job was more fun. So it all
yeah.
panned out.
Yeah, we definitely. I mean, we've got Medicare over here, which I don't know what the equivalent is over there. Do you
We
even
have
have an
one called
equivalent?
Medicare too. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So you either, if you don't have private health, you use your Medicare to
Yep.
cover the costs of health care, surgery, that sort of thing, and you pay a
Right.
small gap, or you
Okay.
pay a premium for private health, and that's everything's covered depending on your policy.
So it wasn't going to be a big change for you either, whether or not you were working for yourself or for someone else.
Not at all. No. So the only change was really the income stability. I mean,
Okay. Yeah.
if you're in a salarized position, you're getting X amount of dollars every week. When you're
Mm-hmm.
working for yourself, it really depends on bringing those leads in and converting them to clients and how long can you
Mm-hmm.
keep somebody on board for in your business. So they may
Yeah.
commit to 3 months, but then they may leave after 3 months. So you've always got that fluctuation in income coming in versus expenses going out, which is different, I suppose, to the consistency of a salarized position.
Now you mentioned that you had stayed home while your first five were little,
Yeah,
and I'm assuming you were on like a one income family during those years.
yeah, yeah, which was
What?
hard, but I suppose my husband and I were so young when we had the first five,
Uh huh.
and we really just we didn't live above our means, or not saying we do now either, but it
Mm-hmm.
was very casual, and they were little. And I mean, this is going back, I mean, my eldest is just about to turn 22. So it is actually like quite a while back that this is before every child was basically born with a device in their hands. There was no
Yes.
need to have like all these iPads and
Oh
iPhones
yeah.
and Xboxes and all of that stuff that they all seem to come with now in a bag. So,
I'm one of 10 kids, so I did not grow up with many luxuries.
yeah, well, I'm one of two, and neither did I. At completely different times. So,
Yeah.
I think it was more simple back then, and as they got older, and there were school fees associated with the costs of living, and yeah, you just more the electricity is more expensive because there's more people using things all the time,
Right.
and so as they've gotten older, the cost of living has increased, and the cost of living has increased anyway, just
Right.
from where we are in society right now. So it got to the point that I needed to work to have just a little bit more disposable income, so that we weren't living so tightly, like paycheck to paycheck every week, which
Mm-hmm.
is what we were doing with a family of seven on one
Right.
income.
When you
Yeah.
were doing your quality assurance, was that like on site, like in a building, in an office?
quality assurance as far as so not product quality assurance, like system governance quality assurance. So I did the policies and procedures and governance for not-for-profit organizations to help them get accreditation and auditing. So yeah, okay. on site there, like within the job that I left was actually for a not-for-profit legal and advocacy firm. So they had two different streams of income, their funding streams. And so I just made sure that they were always compliant with all the expectations of their funding. So that was in the office.
So talk about how you built your home office.
Initially, it was literally just one little desk and one iMac, like an older style iMac. Yep. And that was all I had. So an internet connection, an iMac, and a desk and a chair. In the rumpus room of our house here. And there was really no space anywhere else for me to be. Which, I mean, there still isn't, which is why I'm in my bedroom.
You said rumpus room, right? Does that mean like the high traffic, like family area where everyone comes all day long?
Well, it was kind of like that. But I think before I started my business, no one seemed to use that space. I was like, well, perfect. It's actually a really big room. And I was like, well, I'm just going to take one little corner of it. But as soon as I started my business and I was there, it kind of became the congregation section for everybody in the house. I would be down there. So then I moved to another area of the house off the side to our like main lounge room because no one was there anymore. They were all in the rumpus room. And then once I moved up there, they all came up there. So I was like, I've moved into the bedroom so I can lock the door.
And that's where you are now, right?
Yeah, so I do have quite a different setup now. But when I first kicked off, it was literally just a desk, an iMac, and a chair. Yeah.
Are you sitting in that chair for the majority of those 21, 25 hours a week?
Yeah.
Is it a good chair?
It is a good chair. I don't always sit here, so I do have. I do sometimes lie on the bed, and I always have some noise happening, and other people don't understand how I'm able to do that. But I think because I have so many kids and there's always so much noise that I'm overwhelmed by silence. I'm actually not productive when it's quiet. I need noise happening. So this is the one that I'm on at the moment is my main iMac, and I have another one to my right-hand side, and that typically has streaming services going on it. So Netflix is playing or Stan or something. So it's always like happening. Or if I'm lying on the bed, on the TV, up on the wall, I will have something going on, or I'll have a podcast or music or something like that. But sometimes I'll take my laptop and I'll go and sit out in like the breakfast bar and work out there, or I'll go and sit out on the veranda and work, or I'll head down to a park. But predominantly I'm in this chair most of the time.
But you can take your laptop and everything that you need is there, and you can go if you need to.
Yeah. So I'm a major Mac fan. Like I literally have Mac everything, Apple everything. Mm-hmm. And so the beauty of that is that everything talks to each other. So if I take my iPad, it's got everything there. Or if I pick up my MacBook, I'm just picking up, like I just click from the iMac screen to my Apple MacBook, and I've got what I'm working on comes across. So yeah, it's just means that I can move where I am. I do go away quite a bit. Like my best friends live about an hour and a half away, and I might go away for a couple of days to visit them, and I'll just take my stuff with me, or I'll shoot down to New South Wales to visit my sister and I take my stuff with me. So definitely that's one of the huge benefits of automating your business, is that you can be very nomadic with your business. You're not like pinned down to having to use a platform on a particular device at a particular time. You can just work from wherever, whenever. It really gives you so much more freedom and versatility with how you operate your business.
What kind of challenges do you run into, though, with that, like internet connection versus like having to schedule meetings? Are you trying to like schedule meetings with people in other time zones and stuff? Like, what are some of the things that are frustrating in your business?
Internet is always an issue. because it's different depending on who your provider is and whereabouts in the country you are and how close to a tower you are and what the weather's like. So that can be a problem. And also it's a problem just in the house because the kids come home from school at 3 p.m. and the bandwidth just shrinks because there's so many people on the internet doing stuff. So everybody experiences that sort of thing. As far as scheduling
I make my kids watch old DVDs. Like right now we're streaming. So I'd say you can't watch Netflix right now. You need to watch DVDs, and they know.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, I wish my kids would do that. And they're not even, it's not that they're watching TV. They're on like Xbox or something like that.
Right.
Sucking all the bandwidth
or doing
out.
homework maybe.
Oh, occasionally. I wish that was the reason why it was low. As far as scheduling times with people outside of Australia, it is a problem because I do have quite a few clients that are in the UK and in the States. But I made a conscious decision when I started automating my business that I was scheduling my time. And if people wanted to work with me, they would have to find a time in my time because I didn't want to be negotiating my boundaries with other people. And it's been like, I can meet with you between these times. Here's my scheduling tool. Grab a time that suits. If you can't find a time that suits, feel free to email me and I'll come back to you with responses that way. But they're kind of hard. I have to make hard lines in order for me to function in my business. And the only time that I have been flexible really around that has been when I've been dealing with Simplero. So if I'm using concierge hours inside of Simplero, I have to meet their scheduling time. So that's always fun because it's like 3:30 or 4:30 in the morning for me that I'm talking to them.
I still have a few concierge hours I can use with Simplero. So basically, do you want to describe what that means? What are concierge hours?
Yeah. So if you purchase an annual plan with Simplero, either the middle tier or the top tier, you get some concierge hours. So 5 hours for the middle tier, 10 hours for the top tier. And those concierge hours can essentially be used for anything. And what they are is the Simplero team is actually doing stuff for you inside of your Simplero. So you could say, I need a landing page built, and they will jump in and build that landing page for you. Or I need a product set up, and they'll jump in and set that up, or an email sequence or something like that. So you are getting the people working on your business for you as a extra little benefit of paying for an annual membership, which you're getting discounted anyway. It's actually cheaper to pay for an annual membership than it is to pay for a monthly. But sometimes people just don't have the funds to outlay the whole 12 months in advance. So
I did do that, and I still have a few left, and we were able to like conserve them. Like we were like, I have a virtual assistant too. And so I was like, we're going to try to figure out as much as we can using their tutorials and their help, sheets and everything. And then as soon as we get stuck, then we're going to schedule something. And when we did, it was wonderful. Like that 2 hours is golden. But we still have 8 more. And so they will expire in about 2 or 3 weeks. So I better use them quickly. But there are certain things that they can do for you. Like they can build a quiz funnel for you, except for that takes 10 hours. And so you have to be like, well, you can pay, individually per hour after that. Or I could pay Rachelle.
Or
so
you
I
can pay
choose.
me.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of work I work very closely with concierge now. And I think I actually had a call with the CEO of Simplero last week. So I think it's the fact that I've had a lot of dealings with different people within the organization that has kind of brought my name up quite regularly, that he reached out to have a chat with me. Yeah. Well, he actually did talk to me about whether or not I would be interested in working with them to rebrand and to do training. Like training for the community, if I would record videos and teach people in the community. I was like, yeah, that works for me. Hint, hint, pay me some money.
3 o'clock in the morning, not so much.
Yeah, actually, it was a 4:30 meeting, so it was pretty early. So if I have a client that is migrating to Simplero and they decide to pay annually and get the benefit of the concierge hours, I quote a migration cost. So all of the different components that need to be done to bring somebody from one platform to another, or to set them up fresh on Simplera if they're not coming from anywhere, if they're in a startup mode. And then I liaise with concierge, and I liaise with, with my client on how best to use those concierge hours towards that migration. Whether or not they want to have someone reserved for training down the track, or they want to just use those 10 hours or 5 hours up in the migration process, and then I do the rest, which works really well. So I have meetings with concierge, and I'm the one that's in people's base camp talking to concierge about what needs to be done and deadlines and things like that. And yeah, they don't really talk to concierge. I do all the talking for them.
Wow, that's wonderful. So I know that you generally work with female entrepreneurs, or all entrepreneurs.
Female, yeah. I do have a couple of males that have come into my business via one of my funnels, and it's always interesting to me because I think my messaging is quite feminine. Like my messaging, definitely resonates with females more than it does males. But if someone, like, I've had a couple of men that have come to me to have their courses created because it was actually the process that they resonated with, not necessarily the graphics or the aesthetics of my site or my pages. So I have recently just readjusted my branding, so it's kind of not as feminine. It's kind of got different colors now. It's not as pink as it was before. But my target audience is female coaches and consultants. And typically they seem to come to me inside of a health and wellness space. I mean, I don't go out to market for that space, and I am quite broad as far as a female coach and consultant. I work with female coaches and consultants, but I do find that I have a lot that are in some health wellness, like a therapeutic, counseling, yoga, in those sorts of spaces.
They just gravitate toward you.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, and because like I said earlier, a lot of it is word of mouth. So I might work with an energetic healer, and she works with 3 or 4 other people in her community, and she refers them to me. So I think that's how I built my client base in that area, is because so many people have brought other people to me. But I do a lot of work with women, like business coaches, and like in that very firm business growth area, helping other people grow their businesses. So, yeah.
So as far as my audience, I think that we're going to be pretty much evenly split between the people who are employees and the people who are, on their own, entrepreneurs, freelancers, independent contractors and stuff. Do you have any thing that you offer that might be applicable to both sides?
Yes. So it depends on where people are in their business journey. So if they're just at a startup phase, so they're ready to work from home and they're wanting to know what platforms they should use, then my strategy sessions work really well in that space. But it also crosses over quite well to people that are in established businesses, because they may not be using the best tech or the best platforms to support their business in the long term. So I can speak to people about. Sorry?
The decision makers, though, like when I was in the healthcare setting, I didn't get to choose.
Yeah, I have done some consults with business owners of, I suppose, small businesses. They maybe have 15 to 20 staff, looking at the all-in-one platforms or ways to build their course, like their internal training for their staff, and platforms to use for that. But I very much work with people that are either like solopreneurs, or they may have 2 or 3 maximum staff that they're working with. So they are the decision makers in that space. Not so much the employees within somebody else's business, because you really don't get a lot of say in what. No. You can make suggestions, but yeah.
So I know that you are getting ready to launch some stuff. Do you want to tell the audience what that is or what you're doing?
I'm in launch for 2 things at once, and they kind of are working together because one feeds into the other. So I'm launching a membership which is called the Automation Success Lab. And essentially it's just, it's monthly automation training. So really detailed implementation, because I find that that's where so many people come unstuck. They've got the strategy, they know what they need to do, but they have no idea how to do it. So if someone says to you, you need to build a webinar funnel, or you need to build a quiz funnel as a great lead generation tool, the concept is brilliant, but how do I implement it? What tech do I need? What are the steps? What needs to integrate? How do I test it? So the membership is really going to have a project every month of something that I know can be applied across multiple platforms, something that I know is a injection of profit or an injection of time, things that are going to push the needle very quickly in your business. So those are the sorts of things that I'm delivering on a month-to-month basis. There will be live trainings and Q&As where people can say, how do I apply that concept in the platforms that I'm using myself? And there's also a resource library of tutorials on different platforms. So how to integrate Stripe with ClickFunnels or with Simplero or with Kajabi. How do I build a landing page? How do I connect ActiveCampaign to ClickFunnels or ActiveCampaign to lead pages? That sort of thing. So just simple, really quick tech videos to show you how to do A, B, and C. And I'm also in the process of creating a course around creating courses because that's something that so many women want, and probably men as well, because I have a couple of men that have come in, want to create an online course as a means of passive income in their business, which has become so relevant during COVID when people have had to really pivot their business from that face-to-face touch point to delivering something online and not hitting the ceiling. Only so many hours in a week, and yeah, you're limited with that. So that's my course.
Are you going to be teaching it specifically for like your preferred platform of Simplero, or that would be applicable across whatever platform people choose to buy?
It will be applicable across. So the concepts of how to build a course are the same regardless of the platform you're using, and the actual implementation is fairly similar across platforms. I mean, obviously I can't cover how to do everything inside of one platform versus something else, but things like outlining your course and creating your modules and creating your lessons and dripping that content, there is a similarity in most platforms that I've dealt with, and I have dealt with a lot of platforms. So, yeah.
And if someone needed help, they could come to you for that help.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I do have done for you course creation services, and I have strategy sessions where you can talk about how do I drip content in Thinkific? How do I create a landing page in Thinkific or a checkout option in Thinkific? I use Thinkific because a lot of people have actually come to me with problems with Thinkific because there are some really good aspects of it, but some other parts of it just seem really limited. So yeah, and I mean, there's limitations with every platform.
And you're pretty familiar with most of the major hitters, like the big hitters, right?
Yes,
Kajabi, Thinkific, the ClickFunnels,
Teachable, ClickFunnels, Infusionsoft. Yeah.
Simplero.
Right. Always Simplero.
Well, what do you want to share with people as far as like final words, advice, something that you've learned that might be helpful to people who are just getting started in working from home or thinking about starting a new business? I
constantly hear this myth that unless you're making lots of money, unless you have a client base, that it's too early to automate. And I want to say emphatically that is not the case at all. You should start automating your business when you start your business. So there's no point spending time back and forth scheduling appointments with people or sending out a lead magnet manually or emailing people about an offer manually. You absolutely shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be posting in social media manually all the time or sending out mass emails manually all the time. So the time to start automating is when you have chosen the platforms that you're going to use, or you want to choose the platforms that you're going to use. You want to see what will work to get your automations started. As soon as you have some money to do that, and there's always an investment when you start your business, And you want to go for the option that's going to give you the best return of investment, which is why I advocate so heavily for Simplero, because it's priced so well and it does everything you need it to do. You don't need web hosting. You don't need email marketing separately. You don't need a platform for your online courses and membership sites. It does everything for you.
If I could set it up, I set up most of it by myself. If I could set it up, most people could.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is easy to navigate. And if you have problems with navigating that platform, there are so many resources available to you. Like, there's so much there. They have a great community on Facebook. They've got great tutorial videos. You can reach out to put a support ticket in. And even if you don't have concierge hours, they will give you excellent response. Even if you don't have that bank of time up, they will tell you how to send an email or how to change a setting in your system. So their customer service is unparalleled, in my opinion.
Or they'll at least help direct you to the free resources that they have, as far as like all the tutorial videos and things. Or if they're outdated, they even have a place that you can, submit all of your recommendations for upgrades.
Yes,
and they take them seriously.
Yeah, very seriously, and they're always making improvements. I mean, you would probably see this too, that more often when you log in than not, there is something has come up and they're letting you know what they've improved. And and I love to read all of those things, like this has been added. And it's because they're really listening to their community. And when I spoke to Calvin last week, he really made a point of saying, we want our customers to drive this business forward. And they are listening. So ask the questions, make the recommendations, and they're listening to that and building from that.
I think the team is, as far as I can tell, they're all remote too. Like, I think that Calvin makes his videos in his living room, and all the people that I've talked to or done video calls or Zooms or whatever with, they're all like in their homes.
Yep, they are.
I don't think
they're
it's just
all
COVID.
remote.
I think that's just how it is. They've got the guy down in, oh my goodness, in South America.
Yeah. There's a girl here in Australia that looks after the Australian-based inquiries. So you're getting responses at times that suit Australian time zones. They have obviously quite a heavy Dutch audience because there's a lot of bases over there. So they have people that are over there. So, and they are, I mean, Calvin started that business out as just a tiny payment processing center and added things to it. As people asked for things, he added email marketing to it. He added landing pages to it. So as people have said, oh, you should do this. You should think about adding this because this is what the big players are doing. He's done it gradually, but he's done it with it's not sleazy, slimy, salesy, which is what I love about it. When you compare it against some of the big players that are all spammy sales all the time, like you should do this and you should do that, and this is the only way you're going to make six figures. And I don't love that. It sets unrealistic expectations for people. And sometimes I find that the businesses that are a little bit quieter, they're getting the attention with a whisper rather than a roar. Those are the ones that I move towards more because I'm kind of like that. Like I don't love being in front of people. Like I'm not a stand up on stage sort of person. This sort of thing is pushing my comfort zone because I don't like to be in front of people.
Thank you for coming today.
That's okay. So I just naturally gravitate towards people that have a similar mindset to me. Like things can be done without having to wave a flag and be in front of people's faces all the time. So,
One thing that I noticed with Simplero, and especially like Calvin, the owner or the founder, they're very interested in mindset and being intentional and being, heart-centric people and things like that. And you feel that come through. Every person you talk to is very empathetic and caring. And
that's Calvin's background.
Genuine.
Yeah, so he's actually, his background is around like very spirituality based and like mindset function. And every course or program that he runs, he has a mindset module at the beginning, like how to ground yourself. And which is the reason why their support tickets, sometimes they have a meditation attached to their support ticket. So like while you're waiting for our response, listen to this meditation. So for people that are very heart-centered or soul-driven sort of entrepreneurs that are working really from that heart space, Simplero just fits the bill because that's where they're coming. That's the basis of their business. So they're coming from that place.
Well, this is all coming from the lady who's tried it all.
Yes.
It's where you've settled.
Yeah, and I never recommend something that I don't love, and that I don't use or haven't used in the past. And I still recommend things that I don't use. So I recommend Active Campaign. If someone asks me for standalone email platform, I'll recommend Active Campaign. I don't use it myself anymore, but I know it's great. And when I was using all of the different standalone platforms and integrating them together, Active Campaign is what I used. So I do recommend that. And I do recommend ClickFunnels if you're looking for a landing page builder that's a standalone and you can afford it. I do recommend it. But I won't back a platform that I don't love, that I know isn't giving people the best bang for their buck. I mean, there's some big name platforms that a lot of people are using that I just do not enjoy using at all.
Yes.
We won't mention names.
You kind of talked me down from the one I mean, it's like, it's their marketing, or, there's another big guru who's like really pushing this really, really heavily.
That's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing. And it is the gurus of the world, the Amy Porterfields and the Jenna Kutchers, and depending on what space you're in, they're using these platforms. And so, well, they're seemingly using these platforms, because let me tell you, that's not always the case.
They're heavily customized.
Yes, built from the ground up. That is getting people across the line, but the functionality is just not there, or they're having to layer this platform, this all-in-one platform, with something else to make it function the way it needs to function. Or they have to pay for an advanced automations module, which essentially is just out-of-the-box automations for all the other all-in-one platforms. So you've got to look into what's being delivered to you for the price that you're paying versus another platform that might be a little bit more, but you're actually getting more for just a smidge difference. Yeah.
Well, if someone wanted to have a conversation with you and kind of talk through all of these things like I did with that breakthrough session, tech breakthrough, I think it was.
Yeah,
How can people find you? Is there like a freebie that you send people to, and then they can get your information, or how do you do that?
Yeah, I have a couple of freebies, but the one that would be best for people if they're looking to automate their businesses is I have an ultimate automation tools guide. So it's just kind of a wrap up of my top 5 tools for automation. Spoiler alert, Simplero is in there. But it goes over like which are my recommended tools for landing pages and scheduling and email marketing and social media, because those are the big 4 that I find that people are challenged by when they first start. And those are the aspects of their business that they want to take control of first. So making the things that are making the money. So from there, you can book in for a tech breakthrough session or a strategy session to discuss what you've got, if it's working for you, should you change, do you want someone to set it up for you, do you want someone to partly set it up for you? So yeah, and that's on my website. I think it's right at the top of my website. I've only just rebuilt my website, so yeah, I think it's towards the top of my website.
Rachelle Deem, RACHELLEDEEM.
.com.
.com. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
My mouse has been like intermittently working. So right when I needed it didn't. Yeah. Just now. I can send you the link anyway, and you can drop it below.
Yes.
And you're the one that turned me on. I think you turned me on to Acuity scheduling, and I've really liked that. So we'll put the links for those things. There are some partnerships or referral type things in there. So whether or not you work with Rachelle, or if you get that link from me, someone's probably going to enjoy a benefit of telling you about it.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate knowing that you have tried them all. Like it really means a lot, getting advice from someone who literally has worked and continues to work in the other platforms.
And I do note other platforms in my guide, but if there's an affiliate link in there, it's only because of the fact that I stand behind the platform. So if I've noted something and there's no affiliate link, it's not because that platform doesn't have an affiliate program. It's just because I don't back it confidently enough to refer people to it. So I affiliate marketing has its place, but I am definitely all about being authentic, and I'm only going to refer you to something if I know that it works, and it has to function the way it says. It has to be priced really well, and the customer service has to meet a standard for me. They have to be responsive. They have to be willing to help and go over and above and beyond what you expect in order for me to give it a star rating. And yeah, so if there's a referral link, it's because I think the platform's brilliant. And even if it's not Simplero, there are some great platforms out there that are standalone. Yeah.
Well, we are well over an hour, so we should probably say goodbye. But thank you for taking the time with me. And
My pleasure.
like you mentioned, I know you're not really like into the spotlight, but I appreciate this because this could be really helpful information for people who especially are just getting started, especially on their own business. And I don't want other people to feel like they are paralyzed with that decision overwhelm, like I was for 4 months or whatever. It's not a good place to be in.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Rachelle. I'm going to say
this
is April with Yes, I Work From Home, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.